The Nonary Games continue. Like every sequel, comparisons with the previous game have to be made. I've been playing a lot of sequels lately. It's the Nonary Games, Virtue's Last Reward for Steam, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Virtue's Last Reward takes place some period of time after the previous game, 999. Once again, a group of 9 people are kidnapped and forced to play puzzle games to increase their score and escape with their lives, and demonstrate in multiple timelines we all have a little asshole deep inside our hearts when we have a bigger number than the next person. Thankfully, Sigma, the protagonist, seems to have a mysterious ability of jumping between timelines, which he will need in order to solve all the strange and dark mysteries surrounding this new edition of the Nonary Games. If you play 999, you can take a few guesses. The Nonary Games are not actually a competition, but the purpose of this new edition is that's something you need to dive deep into the game to find out. By the way, you will recognize a face among the participants. That's right, they brought back a fan favorite, Clover, the best character. The worst character of 999 is back! And she's still annoying. You might also recognize Alice, if you still remember the ending of the last game. Wonder what she's doing here. Actually, that question applies to literally every other character, as it should. Finding out their backstories and the reasons they were dragged into this game is part of the narrative. Just like before, you end up teaming with each character at some point, depending on your decisions, and get to know them better. But Virtue's Last Reward sets itself further apart by including a character that is essentially your partner in crime. The game makes this clear from the very beginning, so there is always that lingering feeling you're not completely alone. Not that it's a bad thing.
お前が協力を選んだ件についてだよ。PP が0以下になれば死ぬ。私はそう言ったはずだが。いや、あの時のお前ならできたはず。人間は危機に瀕した。
I'm not even gonna attempt to begin explaining what the story is about beyond this initial context. It goes way deeper into pseudoscience and quantum physics than 999 did. You're given enough explanation about the subjects when they're brought up, so I'm not saying you need some kind of degree, just be prepared for a convoluted plot. Don't confuse convoluted with bad. Convoluted stories can be entertaining. They encourage discussing and reflecting beyond the playtime. It can be a little weird, and if you're the type of person who hates stories that aren't straightforward, you're probably not gonna take it seriously. And as always, with these types of stories, you have to take some of the explanation for granted, even if they go against what you know about real science. The game also adds a lot more branched timelines, endings, and game overs, which would have been confusing to unlock if it wasn't for the massive improvement in form of more obvious and streamlined decision making. Getting the true ending in 999 was not intuitive at all, but getting the real ending in Virtue's Last Reward will not require any kind of guide whatsoever. The game lets you know if you find yourself in a dead end in any of the timelines. But this also means if you think it's more interesting for dialogue choices to affect the outcome, instead of simply the doors and the A-B game votes you pick, you might be disappointed. Oh yeah, I should probably talk briefly about the new rules. Once again, the timelines are split into moments the group is split in order to open doors that match what their wristband says. In 999, doors were locked behind exact digital routes that take 2 or more participants to match. In Virtue's Last Reward, doors are locked behind colors. If you know anything about colors, you know you can combine 2 or more into a different color. So each turn the 9 participants see their color change. And some of the colors will be in pairs who have to go through the same door. This leads into every pair teaming up with a single, going through a door, solving an escape room puzzle, then unlocking the way to the next set of doors. The real big change, however, is the A-B game. After a round of successful escapes, every team needs to participate in this game where they choose if they want to ally or betray their partner. A pair will vote for the single they escaped with, and a single will vote for the pair. The trick behind this game is because every combination of votes adds or removes a different amount of points, and anyone with a total score of 9 can quote-unquote win the game by opening the final door. It's not always predictable how the characters you're voting will react in the end. You would think, because everyone wants to leave this place, they would all keep choosing ally until everyone got 9 points, right? Well, obviously humans aren't that simple. I think it's amazing how a simple voting game can have such a lasting impact in the dynamic of the cast. That's good writing right there. Anyway, expect a big story somewhere in the 20-hour mark if you want to experience the entire thing. And trust me, unless you really don't like where it's heading, you will want to experience everything. Because being aware each timeline sends the game over is just one piece of the single plot, is something the game expects from you. Maybe it was just me, but this More Than 999 seemed to make that fact a lot less ambiguous. You're even expected to go through every other ending before you get access to the true ending due to the way the story is structured. I ended enjoying this story more than the first Zero Escape. A minor complaint I have is 999 felt more like a story you can enjoy on its own, while VLR feels a lot more like Zero Escape 2 Part 1. Now a major complaint is the pacing in the first few hours. It's super sluggish. Adding salt to the injury is the game's passion for unskippable door opening, hallway traveling, and elevator riding cutscenes that play too freaking often and just waste your time. You might think I'm being nitpicky, but I promise you, once you play the game yourself, you will agree with me. It's that bad, and I dare say might even discourage some players. It's not easy trying to talk about the narrative without spoiling too much. I don't mind giving everything away if it's a game from over 2 decades ago or it's not the kind of game a lot of people care about for the plot. But Virtue's Last Reward lives and dies by its story. This is about as much as I can say. So moving on. Gameplay is mostly unchanged from the first Zero Escape. You have a little more control over the camera, which means you need to pay more attention to the escape rooms and their interactable spots or objects. The puzzles are just so much better this time around. They don't underestimate the player's intelligence, posing a good challenge. Of course, if you think it's too much, you can always disable the hard difficulty. The characters in your team will help out with more hints if you do. Many of the puzzles are focused on the theme of, well, colors, which is kind of unfortunate depending on the type of color blindness you have. I can mention this myself because I happen to be colorblind. There were a few puzzles that made me look for friends' help to identify the colors. I was not a fan of that, but it was only a handful of them. The flowchart, aka timeline jump feature, is structured more like a puzzle itself too. At some point you end up in a dead end. The game will tell you as much, and it becomes a matter of finding out what information you're missing and from what branch, or what other branches benefit from the information you just got. Don't worry, it's a lot less complicated than it sounds. As long as you explore every branch you can, it becomes intuitive. And just like I recommended for 999, try to stick with one until the end or until you can't continue. Overall, I thought the gameplay was improved in the sequel. Only thing I didn't consider an improvement was the inventory. The ring format is clunkier and less responsive. I really didn't like it. The file menu, which archives passwords, lore dumps, and puzzle-specific info, was a good addition though. I guess the soundtrack is a little better than before. Again, just like with my impression of 999, I think the music works. It fits. It's good for what it's supposed to do, setting the atmosphere for each scene and escape room, but aside from the main theme, I just don't find the music memorable. The visuals, on the other hand, they are memorable, alright, just not in a good way. Yeah, sorry if you're a big fan of this game, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I really like the 2D sprites and stills in 999, and I didn't mind the CG stills for backgrounds because they were detailed enough. Coming from that to this, I'm sorry, Virtue's Last Reward is just really ugly. I don't care if this was originally designed to run on a 3DS, there were so many better looking games in that system. I understand why they went with 3D models, it's way cheaper than animating pixel art, but geez, these models are such a huge downgrade in presentation. The mouth animations bother the hell out of me. And what with some of the facial expressions? They couldn't even give them more varied ones? It's like Fi is the only character with animations that fit what she says.
こと信じてるわけじゃないから、もしかしたらあなたたちの中にゼロがいるかもしれないでしょ。だから言えないの。どうしても。
Are you? Are you sorry? It's very easy to recommend this to anyone who likes visual novels. You can have a good time with it even if you didn't play 999 first. But then you'd be missing out on a number of important details. My repertoire of visual novels, or I guess you can call these console adventure games, is small all things considered. But I'll be surprised if there are a lot that deliver a better narrative than the Zero Escape series. If you really hate puzzles that test your logic skills, you can always follow guides online. But I always say if the gameplay doesn't appeal to you but you still want to see what the story of a game provides, don't buy the game. Just watch it on YouTube or something. No game, no matter how narrative driven, is worth money investment if your direct interaction with it isn't entertaining. If the puzzles and the muddy, slow pace of the first hours don't bother you, absolutely go for it. Virtual's Last Reward and the Nonary Games compilation are worth it. For some reason the 3DS version isn't well optimized, so unless you have a PlayStation Vita, you want to go with the Nonary Games duology available on Steam, Xbox and PlayStation family of systems. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review, go check out my other videos or subscribe for more upcoming stuff. I always work on these whenever I finish a game from my backlog. Cheers!